Hi guys, welcome to Only English Literature. Today we are diving deep into Alfred Lord Tennyson's poem The Lady of Shalott. Part 1. On either side the river lie long fields of barley and of rye that clothe the wold and meet the sky, and through the field the road runs by. To many towered Camelot, the yellow-leaved water lily, the green-sheathed daffodilly, tremble in the water chilly round about Shalott. The poem describes a river flowing through the land. On either side means both banks of the river. The word lie suggests stillness and calmness. These are large fields of two types of crops, barley and of rye. Those long fields are spread so widely that they seem to cover the entire land and stretched far enough to appear to touch the horizon, the sky. And a road passes through these fields which leads to Camelot that holds grandeur, strength, and royal importance. People are constantly moving along the road and gazing or watching the lilies, which are the symbol of purity, beauty, and peace, that is blooming in the water. The lilies grow around an isolated island in the river where the lady lives. Willows whiten, aspens quiver, little breezes dusk and shiver through the wave that runs forever by the island in the river, flowing down to Camelot. Four grey walls and four grey towers overlook a space of flowers, and the silent isle embowers the Lady of Shalott. The leaves of willow trees look pale or silvery in sunlight, and aspen leaves tremble easily in the wind. The sunlight light follows in onto the water, and the light is reflected and shimmers due to moving water. The stream around the island flows constantly, which connects the island to Camelot. The lady's home is described as having four grey walls. Around the building there are flowers which show that even though beauty surrounds her, she is trapped inside where the silent island is covered. Underneath the bearded barley, the reaper, reaping late and early, hears her ever chanting cheerily, like an angel singing clearly. Over the stream of Camelot, piling the sheaves in furrows airy, beneath the moon, the reaper weary, listening whispers, "'Tis the fairy Lady of Shalott." Under the long bristles of barley, the farmers are reaping all day constantly while listening to the lady singing cheerfully like an angel. Her singing is clear and almost divine that reaches to the river of Camelot. The reaper walks till the night, exhausted from his farming, listening to the voice of divine angel singing while he whispers, "It's a fairy, it cannot be a human." The little isle is all enrailed with a rose fence and overtrailed with roses by the marge unhailed. The shallow fitteth silken sailed, skipping down to Camelot. A pearl garland winds her hair, a, per- a pearl garland winds her head. She leaneth on a velvet bed, full royally apparelled, the Lady of Shalott. The little island is enclosed with an overgrown rose fence or boundary. The boats pass through the stream smoothly towards Camelot without halting near the rose fence where the Lady of Shalott is dressed like a royal queen by wearing a pearl garland on her head, lying on a velvet bedsheet. Part 2. No time hath she to sport and play. A charmed whip she weaves alway. A curse is on her if she stay, her weaving either night or day. To look down to Camelot, she knows not what the curse may be, therefore she weaveth steadily, therefore no other care hath she, the Lady of Shalott. She has no free time for happiness or relaxation because she is busy weaving a magical web constantly. If she stops weaving, a curse will destroy everything. So she has to weave all day and night, forbidding herself to look down at Camelot. She is aware about the curse but does not know how the curse will harm her. To be on a safer side, she weaves constantly as if there's nothing that could attract her or tempt her. She lives with little joy or fear. Over the water, running near, the ship bell tinkles in her ear. Before her hangs a mirror clear, reflecting towered Camelot. And as the mazy wave she whirls, she sees the surly village churls, and the red cloaks of market girls pass onward from Shalott. She lives near the river with a non-joyous life that is full of fear. Near the stream where she lives, she hears the sound of tinkering of bells. Before her, a mirror stands which reflects the town Camelot, and as she woven the complicated wave with her fingers, she sees the lives of villages in the reflection of the mirror, where market women in red overcoats pass by the island and move towards Camelot. Sometimes a troop of damsels glad, an abbot on an ambling pad, sometimes a curly shepherd lad, or long-haired page in crimson clad, goes by to towered Camelot, and sometimes through the mirror blue, the knights come riding two and two. She hath no loyal knight and true, the Lady of Shalott. Sometimes a group of women with happy faces, a religious leader of a monastery riding swiftly on a horseback, a shepherd boy with curly hair, or a young lady having long hair in a royal dress. All these people who go toward Camelot are reflected on the mirror of the Lady of Shalott, where it reflects the blue sky. The knights or warriors come in pairs, but the lady has no one beside her as a loyal partner. The Lady of Shalott watches them with her lonely eyes. Part 3. A bow shot from her bower eaves, he rode between the barley sheaves. The sun came dazzling through the leaves, and flamed upon the brazen greaves. Off bold Sir Lancelot, a red cross knight for ever kneeled to a lady in his shield, that sparkled on the yellow field, beside remote Shalott. There he comes closer to Lady's tower by riding through the barley field. The sun is shining brightly through the leaves and falling on Sir Lancelot's metal armor. Shines brightly like flames. His shield has an image of a knight leaning in devotion to his lady, that glittered against the golden yellow field, passed near the isolated island of Shalott. The gemmy bridle glittered free, like to some branch of stars we see, hung in the golden galaxy. The bridal bells rang merrily as he rode down from Camelot, and from his blazoned baldric slung a mighty silver bugle hung, and as he rode his armour rung beside remote Shalott. Sir Lancelot's horse's bridle covered with gems sparkles in the light, which looks like some branch of stars hanging in the golden sky. As he rides towards Camelot, the bells attached to the bridle chimes happily. From his decorated belt a large silver horn hangs. As he rides and comes towards the remote land of Shalott, his armor makes metallic sounds. All in blue unclouded weather, thick jewels shone the saddle leather, the helmet and the helmet feather, burned like one burning flame together, as he rode down from Camelot, as often through the purple night, below the starry clusters bright, some bearded meteor, trailing light, moves over green Shalott. Under the clear blue sky, his leather saddle shone brightly as it was well decorated with thick jewels, while his feathered helmet was burning like a flame under the sunlight. As he rode from Camelot, he looked like a meteor that passed over Shalott in a dark green starry night, carrying a light behind it. His broad clear brow in sunlight glowed, on burnished hooves his war horse trode. From underneath his helmet flowed his coal black curls as on he rode. As he rode down from Camelot, from the bank and from the river, he flashed into the crystal mirror. Tira lira, sang Sir Lancelot. His clear forehead glimmered under the broad daylight. His horse walks forward with shiny strong hoofs. From under his helmet his coal black curled hair flows. His image from the bank of the river reflected on the lady's crystal mirror as he sang to himself Tira Lira song. She left the wave, she left the loom, she made 3 paces through the room. She saw the water flower bloom, she saw the helmet and the plume, and she looked down to Camelot. Out flew the web and floated wide, the mirror cracked from side to side. The curse is come upon me, cried the Lady of Shalott. The lady left her weaving behind as she moved 3 steps across a room from where she glanced upon the water lily blooming and his blazing helmet and Camelot for the first time. Her weaving then flew from the loom and floated in the air. Then the lady's mirror cracked and she cried as the curse began. Part 4. In the stormy east winds raining, the pale yellow woods were waning, the broad stream in his banks complaining, heavily the low sky raining. Over towered Camelot, outside the isle a shallow boat, beneath a willow lay afloat. Below the carven's stern she wrote, the Lady of Shalott. In a stormy strong wind that is blowing from the east, making the trees lose their color and making them dull, the broad river growing and crying under the dark low sky, about to rain over Camelot. Near the island, there's a small boat floating under a willow tree. The lady came down from a tower and wrote her name at the back of the boat. A cloud white crown of pearl she dyed, all raimented in snowy white, that loosely flew her zone inside, clasped with one blinding diamond bright, her wide eyes fixed on Camelot. Though she squally, east wind keenly blew with folded arms serenely. By the water stood the queenly, the Lady of Shalott. The lady is a symbol of purity, wearing a crown made of white pearls and dressed in white clothes flowing in the air. But her belt is fastened with a bright shining diamond. Despite the storm and blowing, she stands with a calm folded arms posture and looks with her white eyes fixed directly at Camelot. The Lady of Shalott stands with grace like a queen near the river. With a steady, stony glance, like some bold seer in a trance, beholding all his own mischance, mute with a glassy countenance, she looked down to Camelot. It was the closing of the day. She loosed the chain, and down she lay. The broad stream bore her far away, the Lady of Shalott. She looks with a fixed, emotionless expression like someone who can see the future in a dreamlike state that holds her ill fate. With a silent and pale face, her eyes looked down at Camelot. At the end of the day or the sunset time, the Lady of Shalott loosens the chain of the boat where she lies down, and the river carries her away. As when to sailors, while they roam by creeks and outfalls far from home, rising and dropping with the foam from dying swans, wild warblings come, blown shoreward, so to Camelot, still as the boat had wound along the willowy hills and fields among, they heard her chanting her death song, the Lady of Shalott. Tennyson compares the scene to sailors at sea who hear a mysterious sound drifting from the shore while they are far from home. Just as a swan sings beautifully but mournfully at the point of death, the lady is singing her last, most beautiful song as her life fades. The people of Camelot and those willow trees and fields along the river hear the Lady of Shalott's mournful singing going through the hills as the boat carries her body toward them. A long drawn carol, mournful, holy, she chanted loudly, chanted lowly, till her eyes were dark and holy, and her smooth face, sharp and slowly, turned to towered Camelot. For ere she reached upon the tide, the first house by the waterside, singing in her song she died, the Lady of Shalott.
She sings her last mournful songs loudly and sometimes slowly until her eyes are fully dark and lifeless. With her beautiful face, she turns her head towards Camelot for the last time. However, before she reaches the first house of her destination, the Lady of Shalott becomes lifeless. Under tower and balcony, by garden wall and gallery, a pale corpse she floated by. Dead cold between the houses high, dead into towered Camelot. Knight and burgher, lord and dame, to the planked wharfage came. Before the stern they read her name, the Lady of Shalott. The boat passed under tall buildings, balconies, garden wall, and gallery, carrying a pale white lifeless body of her. She floats between the high houses and reaches Camelot only as dead. Knight, commoners, and noble people came near the water to see the boat, and they read name on the boat, which is the Lady of Shalott. They crossed themselves, their stars they blessed, knight, minstrel, abbot, squire, and guest. They lay a parchment on her breast that puzzled more than all the rest. The velvet waits at Camelot. The wave was woven curiously. The charm is broken utterly. Draw near and fear not. This is I, the Lady of Shalott. They crossed themselves and thanked God and the stars. Knight, minstrel, abbot, squire, guest came to pay their last visit. They noticed a piece of paper on lying on her chest, which puzzled the witnesses of Camelot more than her death. On the parchment it was written that her weaving was strange and complex, just as her life. The magic spell has broken, which had ended her life. But do not fear, citizens. Rather, come closer to me, because I am the Lady of Shalott. Let's understand the themes: isolation and loneliness. The lady is confined to an island, cut off from society, with no human interaction or emotional connection. She watches people passing by, villagers, knights, and lovers, but remains separated from them. This constant distance creates a deep sense of loneliness and longing within her. Her life is empty and emotionless, as she neither experiences joy nor fear. Her eventual decision to look at Camelot is driven by this intense desire to break free from isolation and become part of the real world. Freedom versus restriction is also central to the poem. The lady is bound by a mysterious curse that forces her to keep weaving and prevents her from looking directly at Camelot. Her life is controlled and restricted by this unknown force. Even though she does not fully understand the curse, she obeys it out of fear. When she finally chooses to disobey and look at Camelot, she exercises her freedom. But this act leads to the fulfillment of the curse. This shows that freedom often comes with consequences, and breaking away from restrictions can be both liberating and dangerous. Third, desire and temptation. Sir Lancelot represents everything the lady lacks: freedom, love, and real human experience. His bright appearance, lively movement, and joyful singing make him irresistible. He becomes the symbol of the real world that attracts the lady. Her desire to experience life and love becomes so strong that she can no longer remain satisfied with mere reflections. This temptation ultimately drives her to act, even though it leads to her destruction.